welcome back to Drinks and Discussions, the RPG podcast. This is where a bunch of awesome people like us get together and talk RPGs. Today, we're going to have a topic brought up by Mr. Pickles. But before we get to that, let's jump over to Whiskey Sips with Atis.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the Whiskey Sips section. Today, I've got a couple new whiskeys.
You only get to share one.
There's only going to be one this week. But today, what I will be drinking is called Dead Guy Whiskey. Let's see if it'll focus.
That reminds me of a Pickles campaign.
Oh, yeah, actually.
But
Yeah,
it's a stout cask
Stout.
finish. This one is a Rogue Distillery whiskey.
Rogue is
and
specifically Pacific Northwest, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, cool story about this one. The Rogue Distillery is actually right next door to the Hatfield Marine Science Center, which is one of the offshoot branches of OSU, Oregon State University. And my sister actually went there for college. So
The
when
distillery?
I was going to visit her, well, no,
Oh.
the Marine Research
Oh.
Center. But so when I was going down to visit her, we would always usually have dinner over at this distillery place, this Rogue Distillery, and it's very well known in the Northwest for a lot of their beers that they make. But they've also started to get into the hard alcohols section as well. So this one specifically is a stout cask finished. So what they did was they took their stout barrels from the beer that they were making, and they aged their whiskey in those barrels. So I will say it's, after having tried it, it's a very distinct stout flavor. Like, you'll definitely recognize it as soon as you drink it, that, oh yeah, this tastes like a whiskeyed stout. And what that means is it's a lot of dark, like chocolate flavors, as well as some raisin flavors in there. But I will say it's a very strong flavor. So if you're drinking it expecting to have like a whiskey taste, that's not what you're going to get. You're going to get this dark stout sort of taste, which was a little off-putting for me. I'll admit, it probably is not one of my favorite whiskeys, but it certainly is an interesting one. And if you happen to get your hands on one, it's if you like stouts when you're drinking beers, then it's a good option for you if you want to start branching into the whiskey realm, whiskey sphere.
Whiskey sphere. I love when anyone describes whiskey. You know, it has different flavors, different tastes to it. You know,
Mhm.
Someone who doesn't drink whiskey or like, you know, any of that is like, chocolate flavor, raisin. I just looking at Pickle's face over there, going.
But yeah, so it's got because it's been aged in a stout barrel, it's got a much darker color to it.
Yeah.
And that
I think I would
dark
love
drink.
for us to do a whiskey tasting night with Pickles.
Yeah.
So we can explain to him and be like, this is what you're expecting to get from this one, and this is how you do it. And he'd be like, okay. And he's like, it's like whiskey. Like, no. Break it down.
No.
Break it down.
Break it down.
I think you've said that every single whiskey sip so far.
Probably.
Hey, it's a good idea.
Yeah. I'm down for it.
As soon as we start making money, we'll host a whiskey night like once a month or something.
Yep.
Okay, we're gonna move into the topic now. Thank you guys for joining. If this is what you're joining for, buckle up, pucker up, and let's get to it. Over to you, Mr. Pickles.
All right. I'm apparently the guy who comes up with ideas to talk about.
No.
You guys didn't see the behind the scenes.
No.
I've been bullied. Don't watch last episode.
No.
I didn't promise to do anything.
That is
Okay,
not...
so here's the question that I'm going to use as my primary question. If this one flops, I do have a backup. But okay. In TTRPGs, in video games, you can include as well, or even movies, if you really need to relate that distantly from what we're doing. Are curses ever fun?
Ooh, specifically curses, huh?
Curses that are cast on the player, or if you prefer, if you're one of those people who would use debuffs, or other long-term curses. I mostly mean long-term curses, like something that impacts your life and behavior.
I would be most interested hearing from Adis first, coming from an MMO background.
Yeah.
I'm curious how that would play in with what you know.
Yeah, there have been some interesting curses that have come throughout the history of a game like World of Warcraft. One of which was well known because there was a curse that one of the bosses would put onto individuals inside of a raid, and essentially you had to get decursed. You had to like leave the raid. You have to get decursed outside of the raid group, or otherwise every couple of seconds it would spread to another person.
Oh, jeez.
And
Like
it
a
would just
plague.
keep on going. Yeah, it was a plague curse. And so there's been well-known it's a pretty well-known curse because somebody ended up porting back to one of the main cities with this curse on them, and then created mass havoc because people were just like zoning in and dying because everybody was getting this curse, because after a few seconds it had spread to pretty much an entire city, and they had to completely shut down the servers to fix the issue because it was so widespread.
Huh.
So I guess in that sense,
They had to
that's not
quarantine.
a fun curse. That's very not a fun curse. Uh, but I don't know. I'm thinking also into some of the um, like how in Shadowrun you have some of these sort of things where you have like a conditional thing that allows you to get a couple more. Like if you take this condition on, like if you say like you are honor bound to always protect elementals or something like that, then you would always, so long as you maintain that rule, you had an extra couple of feats or I don't know what they call them in that system exactly, but essentially you get a couple of extra skill points to spend in your build when you're first starting.
Hmm.
But which I think kind of plays into like character tropes a little bit. If you take on something like, hey, my character grew up like this, so he's cursed to always have this reaction if this trigger goes off.
Like being afraid of water.
Yeah.
I had a character that was haunted in one of Pickle's games by water. Turns out the whole fucking game was about water.
In the Call of Cthulhu system, at a port town, totally not ripping off Shadow over Innsmouth.
Before I dive in, I have a couple different thoughts on this in regards to like different ways it could be looked at. Fred, do you have anything thoughts on this?
I was gonna say, as someone who almost has a curse on their character.
You're talking about
Torvik.
God damn it. No, not
Varday's bad luck.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Torvik is cursed. He's just prophesied that he's gonna die soon. Well, Grunkle's the only one who heard that, and Grunkle was just kind of like, "Man, you're fine, probably."
I don't want to panic him.
Grunkle sure does hear a lot of things, and he then doesn't share them with the party.
Mm-hmm.
Grunkle not big on sharing. He's big on eating.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Frederick Brady, go ahead.
As someone who feels like sometimes there is a curse on my character, I think it's useful sometimes to get things moving. More opportunities to react to stuff instead of just a straight out, expectations, or, you have expectations, then something like a curse that you may or may not know you have adds a little bit of pizzazz,
Would you consider bad luck? Like, would that be considered a curse?
So the way I consider curse is something that may or may not be detrimental to your character or perceived as detrimental to your character
Like
that
bad luck.
is given by a higher power.
Like bad luck.
You're putting words in my mouth, but they ain't exactly untrue.
I was like, I mean, it fits the bill, you know, walk like a duck, quack like a duck.
There is a distinction, though, I think, between the types of like curse. Like you could take it to the top, and it's like a curse is you're going to die in 7 days because you watched a bad video, or you made somebody angry, and now they used their curse to drag you to hell in like 5 days or something. That's like the ones that are the most extreme. But then you could consider a curse of bad luck to be a lesser curse, so to speak. But I guess I was mostly interested in like those higher octane ones where it's bringing you close to danger, or it's a curse of death, pushing you out of your comfort zone to make you do things out of the ordinary rather than a standard hindrance, like a minus 10% accuracy for 5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's
if
a
that
bit
helps.
bigger scale for sure. What I was thinking is, so there's a couple different ways I would look at this. There's a whole lot of ways I could look at this, and one of them is, I'm just gonna break them down one at a time. So one is I've played a character. I think it was only in a video game, never in a TTRPG, where it was like a hex witch, and the whole thing was, you know, debuffing enemies so that my allies would do better. You know, slowing them down. You know, putting toxin on them so they're slowly deteriorating. Putting curses on them so they take more damage from effects. You know, stuff like that. Thought it was a really cool feature that people don't use a lot. Like, not a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people utilize, or at least from what I've seen, curses and like debuffing stuff. You know, you see plenty of buffing, like clerics, paladins, you know, bards, but not a lot of debuffing. I think bards have a little bit of debuffing, but so that's one thing that I think is a really cool feature. And like, if I play a wizard, you know, if it was an all wizard campaign and I was playing a wizard, like that would be a cool way that I would play a wizard, because I'm not one that's just like, oh, I want to be able to cast fireballs and, you know, I'm not that type of guy. Magic users usually aren't my thing. But if they were like, you know, you can be a hex wizard or something, I'd be like, okay, that's a cool little take on it. You know, debuff enemies to buff my allies, like, cool. But I don't think that's in regards specifically to what you're talking about, Pickles. Cursing player characters. One way I've looked at that, and it's something I've looked at even with King's Crossing and how I would do this, if I would do this, is things like, is it called lycanthropy?
Lycanthropy,
Yeah, or vampirism or stuff like that. I feel like that would fit into the curse category. And like how you would portray that, like if I gave a character lycanthropy, whatever, you get it. Is that something that like you two should agree on beforehand? Is that going to totally ruin their character? Is it something that obviously you would allow them to get rid of in time if they want to, or they can embrace it and, you know, whatever? Like, I don't know. And I wonder if maybe that's where Pickles was going with this. Maybe not specifically those two things, but kind of that idea. Is that more in line with what your question was? Specific curses that are like more big scale that would affect your character long term, like that.
Can I throw something in there?
Yeah, I was going to let you speak.
So for stuff like lycanthropy, I think that should be something discussed between the DM and the player. Like maybe the possibility of it, because that's a big thing for your character to go through, and it'll definitely mess with their personality and stuff. You know what I mean? That's one of those big curses that can completely throw your character off in a different direction.
I think if it's handled right, I wouldn't go to Pickles and be like, "You're gonna become a werewolf." It would be, "Hey, you guys are going up to fight against werewolves. Like, you know what that could do if you're not careful, so figure it out. If you don't want to become a werewolf, don't get fucking bit."
Grunkle becomes a furry.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Imagine Grunkle becomes a vampire or some shit. Like, Dear God.
To answer the question, though, I do consider vampirism and lycanthropy, or becoming a werewolf, if you have a hard time with those letters.
I do.
Those are both what I would consider a curse, but more in like the body horror subgenre of curse, rather than the death curses I mentioned earlier, like from The Ring or The Grudge, or any number of horror movies that's like, you did the thing, now you're going to die, but not right away because we got to scare you first. Uh,
Mm.
But yeah, I think the original Wolfman movie was about the horror of slowly becoming something you don't want to be. Like, I don't
Mm.
think becoming a werewolf, or a vampire for that matter, is supposed to be looked at as something that's favorable, even if you get these powerful abilities. But that said,
Yeah,
I would
I
feel
think the only people you ever see it being favorable with would be like a cultist who's like, yes, please pick me. I saw that a lot in Aliens Dark Descent, a game that I played through recently, where you would have specific cultists who were like, please choose me next, and they would like rip open their body and turn them into an alien. It's like that's not
It's,
something you should be like wanting.
it's the same thing in 40K with the chaos cultists. It'll be please take over my body, oh
Right.
demon.
I agree with you, Pickles. I don't think it's a favorable thing. I think it's your like a whack job if you're one of those people. But continue what you're saying. Sorry.
yeah, like the original Wolfman was supposed to be like a guy who doesn't want to be killing, and he's killing people against his will. So I think I would feel far more comfortable going with a death curse, as absurd as that is, than doing a body horror curse, where I'm changing something about your character. I'd, I personally find it more fun to do that kind of concept of, you watch the evil tape. Now it's time to solve the mystery and save the day and not die from the curse that will kill you, but no. And so that's where I thought of it, but I also think that that ticking clock can also be unfavorable and unfun when you know that you're going to die at a certain point. Um, like the original Fallout game had that with the water supply in the
Mhm.
second one.
Well, I did
But
that to Torvekik. I basically was like, hey, you're prophesied you're going to die soon, so be warned. And it hasn't bothered him at all.
was that in regards to the stump?
Yeah.
Because I think we put that on the top of our list of to do things, or the things to do when we're walking down the road we walk. The
No, it
lonely
was
road.
you guys got back to the thing. He was praying or something. There was the blue aura of the woman there, and
Yeah.
Grunkle saw it, and she was trying to like give a warning to Torvekik who couldn't see her. Grunkle saw it, and she was like, "Be warned, basically, you're headed to your death." And then she got stabbed and killed,
Yeah.
something like that. And that's affected him at all.
The,
Well,
it
he's
wasn't
fine.
clear what was gonna kill him, so there's
True.
no use in him, worrying about it if he can't do anything.
Yeah.
But
that is a
it's-
clue that it's just, you kind of have to isolate it. Like if you have a mental clue board, that's one that you'll be like, I pinned that up there. If it comes up again, I will pin something and then connect it with red string off the camera, apparently.
Mhm.
And the more things that you have that are just ideas, the more often you can say like, oh, I've seen that again. What does that mean in this context versus last context? And I mean that's how you solve the mysteries there.
So it sounds like to me there is a right way to have curses in the game.
Is there?
Well, that's what you were just arguing it for.
I mean, I think so, but I mean that's why I brought it up to you guys. Is I can think that yes, curses could be fun, and then you guys could say no, never. It's never fun to be given a pure negative with no positives.
So
I can't say no because it's in my game. So
I will say, yeah, that
I
will
did
say
it.
that,
So
yeah. I will say that one thing that has come about, like that does come from like my background in MMORPGs, is the idea of stacks of a curse, where maybe it's something that kind of like the chaos system in King's Crossing, where if you start if you go down this path and you don't try to actively like remove these curses from you, then if they stack up to a certain number, then then maybe that's at that point it's at the DM's discretion of what that curse is going to do to you, and you could have some sort of system in there to both add like an understanding of like, hey, this is going to curse you, and increase the amount of curses that you have on you, and then hey, here's ways that you can go about removing these curses from you and introducing maybe an extra NPC or something like that, or an extra storyboard or extra storyline on the board to go and get some of these curses removed, or action, like an understanding of the actions. So I guess it kind of comes back to, do we so long as you have that communication between player and DM, I think you might be able to incorporate some sort of system like that where there's a buffer zone at least.
The way I
on
could
the
see
curse.
that getting worked in pretty well would be something like a withering, a debilitating, even like they talk, the brown recluse spider bites you, your arm's gonna decay and rot until it affects your whole body, and you got to go get it treated, get it dealt with, do whatever. And so something like that where you guys went up and you fought a hag witch and you defeated her, but in the process she cursed one of you, and god, like fucking Adarag's gonna start withering and decaying, or maybe like fast aging, and you're like every day is like 5 year 10 years for you. It's like, oh shit, he's gonna die soon if we don't get on this. So it's like it's stacking. And I can see something like that being like a okay, new side quest, save Adarag. Like that would be, I could see that being fun. Adarag might not be like, whoa, this isn't fun.
That's the thing, is for the cursed player, that the rotting doesn't sound like a fun one to me. But how is that really that different from a curse of death?
Well, but the difference between the two is that, at least in my eyes, is that there's, like, you understand that maybe the first couple of I'm going to keep calling them stacks, just because that's the term I'm familiar with.
Use what you know, man.
But so for the first couple of stacks, maybe there's nothing that it doesn't actually have any effect on you. You just know that you're getting more, and you just know you're getting further and further down the road. And then by like midway through the number of stacks that it's going to take to actually kill you, it's going to actually start having debilitating effects. That's going to increase that timer inside the player to say, hey, we need to go and do this to go get this figured out, because now it's actually starting to affect my play. And then if you just can't leave it by the wayside, there's ways that you maybe don't have to go all the way to, hey, this is going to kill you. You might be able to go to the point of, all right, well, now you are your character is no longer quote unquote human. It's seen as a monster, and is now kind of outcast from society as a necrotic ghoul of sorts, or something like that. But that's so.
And there's ways you could even give it bonuses to where, yeah, like maybe you're decaying and rotting. So yeah, that sucks and you want to fix it, but you're not totally screwed as a character. Maybe that gives you other things, like maybe monsters specifically don't target you because they're like, ew, gross. So you're safe from that. Maybe you get things like, if you get, your arm's decaying, your arm gets cut, and you're just like, I didn't get a wound from that. Like, it didn't hurt. Oh, I mean, I don't want to get cut again, but I can still go, So there's negatives, but then there's positives to where your character's not totally screwed during that time while you're fixing it. Another example would be, what if you get cursed with invisibility and you start fading away? You've seen that in movies and stuff where the person is like fading away and like their fingertips disappear and and they keep going. Like, yeah, you might get turned invisible, and that might be cool for a day or two, but then no one ever sees you again, and you're just gone. You're like, hey, hang on, we need to fix this. Like, bring me back.
Got to start looking like the Invisible Man. Start wrapping yourself in toilet
right?
paper.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm here, guys.
But hold up. So you mentioned the Invisible Man, another Universal horror movie like icon next to Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Yep.
And the Wolfman, played by somebody. This all sounds to me much like the just a continuation of the lycanthropy. Is your body is changing against your will because of the curse,
Mhm.
and you're gaining some benefits from it, but
Yep.
presumably
Right.
the negatives are stacking against you.
So
And
Pickles,
it's not good.
You're just begging me not to have Grunko get bit by a vampire.
Oh, I
Like, please.
love I absolutely love vampires. Turn me into Nosferatu. Grunkle dares you.
Oh, that's why you didn't like the idea of a dwarf versus vampire campaign, because you want to play on the vampire side. I get it now.
Guilty.
I get it now.
I mean, yeah, I would love to play a dorky Nosferatu, but
it would be cool if there was like sympathetics to either side. Like, maybe there's a vampire that was sympathetic to the dwarves. Be like, yeah, our people really screwed you over. We need to stop this. And so Pickles can still play a sympathetic, vampire who's sided with the dwarves in this war.
and who feeds on rats. Because
I mean, he's got to get his blood somewhere.
yeah, you got to get your blood somewhere as a vampire. But Nosferatu, I'm pretty sure had an affinity for rats.
I think Pickle Ferratu has an affinity for goats.
No,
Yeah,
just
I
ants.
feed off of goats. I'm like, oh, what a tasty
Goats!
treat.
Goats, bah!
Oh, okay, fine. I thought it's like weird, but I'll yes and.
No, I love that you yes and that, but no.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll be a Chupa Pickle Ferratu.
So then they beat the vampires leave, but now there's superpowered goats out there.
Fuck.
And the goat wars begin.
And this is how the goat wars started.
Because Pickles was out there eating goats.
And not killing them.
Yeah.
It shows a young Torvek just skipping down the road next to his father.
Just walking along, all of a sudden a goat just headbutts him. Kill it! It's like... Anyways, this is off topic. Back to curses.
This was a cursed topic, so it was on topic.
So which, because I think we've given maybe two different ways of going about it. Like one, the like, hey, I don't know, I feel like they kind of fall in with each other. It's just one way of doing it, but there's
Although the thing that kind of separates it for me though, between the idea of like a lycanthropy or something that stacks and you like get progressively further down the line versus what I think of when I think of a death curse. A death curse, when I typically hear about it, it's like, hey, you have this time period and then that's it. There's no build up, nothing that's saying like, oh, after this period of time you'll start experiencing that. It's very sudden, very abrupt,
like a Final Destination type deal.
Yeah,
if I remember.
I know, like
hey, you're cursed, and then they're driving down the road, and I think there was one where they were all trying to flee the curse, and they just started dying as they were fleeing.
Well, yeah, that's the entire Final Destination series.
Yeah,
but and that's a good example. But there's also like The Ring, as I said, where you watch the video, you get a phone call saying you're going to die in 7 days. But then there's also The Grudge, where if you even come in contact with anybody who has entered this cursed house or enter it for yourself,
or apartment.
God forbid, or go into an apartment that somebody went into that also went to the house or talked to. It's convoluted, but I mean,
Damn
that's
it, Melvin
also
Bleeker.
Oh no, I thought you were talking about the Grudge movie because
I don't watch horror movies. So I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm talking about us getting all cursed by Melvin Bleeker.
This is why they think I'm a good writer here.
Because we haven't watched any of your content, so
yeah, I'm just copying wildly. But yeah, I think there is a distinction. We have two types of curses here. We have the you're going to die, but in the meantime, nothing actually is happening to your body, but we are going to scare you, maybe some sleep deprivation. Things jump out and escalate during that time period. And then there's the things are passively happening to you, the disease or body horror or vampirism scenario.
Yeah.
Is there a third category, or is the third category just everything that's not a good time?
Well, then there is a third category. There's the immediate curse that you're cursed by, like you were talking about the hag witch. you're cursed immediately by the hag witch, and maybe you immediately have that curse, and now it's all about, okay, we know what the issue is, like we know where the starting point is. Now we have to figure out how to fix it.
So an immediate
sort
curse
of
would be
thing.
something like every time you walk through a
Like-
door, you puke.
Or I was thinking even simpler, even further back to your childhood days of the Frog Prince, where it's an immediate curse that happened, where the prince was turned into a frog, and now you have the antidote of,
Oh.
okay, now you have to have this thing happen to you, or otherwise you're going to stay cursed forever.
Like
And then
Sleeping
you have a
Beauty, yeah.
timeline. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
A lot of those old fairy tales had the immediate
Classic
curse, and then
Beauty and
with-
the Beast. Yeah, they all. Jeez, Disney is an original. It's just the same thing every time.
it's an immediate curse, and then you
Yeah.
have, and when you're cursed, you have the prescription of how you're supposed to be cured. And then you have to go about finding that side quest on how to get that cure. So I think that's your third option.
Those seem kind of shitty to me because it's like, who wants to play Sleeping Beauty?
Right, yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
shitty. Mine would be, I mean, I could see, like, every time you walk through a door, you puke, and it's like, well, this is gonna get really fucking annoying really quickly. Like, I'm gonna need to fix this.
The party will immediately just be like, okay, let's go to the bar. Okay, fine. Oh, actually, there's a better bar across the street.
Oh, they just troll them.
Wait, no, actually, I saw the prices. Let's go back in.
Eventually, you're just getting kicked out because like you're puking everywhere. Stop.
I can't serve you, sir. You
Yeah,
just puked on
you're
the way
cut
in
off.
the door.
You're like, no, please, I puked like 14 times tonight. I gotta eat something.
Sir, you're cut off. I can't serve you.
Yeah, that would be. I feel like that's probably. We're like death curse. I'm like, no, puking curse, way worse.
That's eventually death.
At least with the
Would be.
death curse, you have an end point. This is
Yeah,
just suffering.
just constant suffering. Yeah, and I mean, it could be anything. I mean, it could be every time you sleep, you have a nightmare.
Let's just
Night terrors.
That would be a curse, wouldn't it?
living.
That's just living sad, pickle.
I mean, I feel like I have the normal amount of nightmares.
I
Every
just
time
don't
you sleep,
remember
you have a
anything that I
nightmare.
sleep.
Well, not every time. Like,
Or
I
even like
usually
night
have.
terrors. You every time you wake up, just fearing for your life, panting, dripping in sweat. Like, yeah, like that would
mean,
be a
no,
curse. Absolutely, I would. That insomnia, you don't want to go to sleep.
Well, if insomnia is caused by something, because I feel like a curse has to have an origin that you can kind of pinpoint. You pissed off a hag witch, you got bitten by a vampire, you fought with a guy that had a gross looking knife. It was a poop knife. You got an infection, which is sort of a curse, I guess, here, if you're using disease. It has to have an origin. Otherwise, there's no narrative value.
Right, absolutely, I would agree. If Torvik just wakes up and he's cursed, it'd be like, what? Bish, why?
Be like, we're trying to kick you out of the group, but we don't have the balls to do
you're
it.
just like Raph hates
what
me.
it'd be.
No, there's a point, probably. I don't know.
Maybe, probably.
You pissed off a god.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Too soon. That was like 4 months ago. So yeah, curses. I mean, I guess if we go around the table, what do you think? Good or bad? Useful or not useful? And
Situational.
Let's assume the situation here is that you've played with the GM for, let's give it 6 months to a year. So you have some experience with them and a general level of trust, at least, of how they run their games. And we'll give them, like, I don't know, just an average. They're not terribly good, not terribly bad, just an average skill level at things. Do you trust them enough to run a curse on you, and make it fun? Let's also assume they didn't watch maybe a couple hundred horror movies, maybe just like 5 or 20.
Sure.
Well, I'd say if done right, yeah, I think it could be a good plot driver. It can also be used for some exposition if you need to, um, if done correctly. If like you want to hook in a certain, maybe not maybe they're not the bad guy, but they're just the curse giver. Um, that could have some maybe plot information. I think that might work out decently well.
I think for me, the biggest quote I come back to, and I'm not quoting this exactly, but basically, you can't appreciate the good without experiencing the bad. And so I think having things like that in a game just brings so much depth to the game to really appreciate the highs. When you guys finally make it back to the bar, you've solved the curse, you're hanging out, everyone's happy and healthy, and maybe you went through the shit, but now you're all here at the bar. You grab a round of drinks together and actually fucking cheers and be like, "Fuck yeah!" Like you don't get that if you were just like, "Oh, everything was easy. We killed everything. There was no problems." Next. So I think having those kind of moments, having those kind of, even just the threat of it, having those kinds of things in a game will make that game so much more deep to me, which is a yes for me.
Yeah, it sounds like 2 yeses. How about you, Fred?
Yeah. Situationally, but yes, in general.
3 yeses.
Pickles is like, Strange Town Golden Room's about to get lit.
No, because
So many curses.
Curse you, everybody gets cursed.
I guess narratively, I think that it's such a fun concept, and I've listed many movies already, and some of them just repeatedly, that would be fun for me to tell as a story because I have complete control, and I know that I'm not going to do this to kill anybody. It's all for the plot of the scaries and the spookies and the jumps and the fights and the different scenarios. But as a player, I would be inclined to say no based on the character I made of 6 months to a year experience and with them, not their experience. That's one of those things that requires a lot of trust from me. Being willing to accept something, a penalty, even if it comes with bonuses, like that level of trust, knowing like you are going to let me cure myself, right? Without actually having to ask that and like ruin the plot. You want some suspense, but I don't know. It's the same thing as playing like a cleric to me in somebody's game. I need to have a lot of faith in the GM that they're not going to cut off my powers at like a moment's notice. Like just be like, you offended your god. You got to go on a quest and you have no powers. Oh, you didn't put any points into combat? Well, sucks to be you, bro. Like that would not be fun.
Really familiar.
I think
Uh-oh.
you can really tell how it's gonna go just by how your DM runs it. Because if I was just like, I was like, "Hey, Pickles, you're cursed. Your dick fell off."
Yeah,
that's probably a bad DM, and that's probably a moment where you're like, this isn't gonna. I'm good. I'm done.
I can at least put it in my pocket in that instance, and I wasn't drugged and then sawn off. God,
cursed. But if your DM's like, "Hey, you guys fought these werewolves, you won." But as we're fading out of the scene, Adarag lifts up his shirt and he sees a bite wound. He hasn't told the party yet. And we end on that note. And it's like, I feel like that would be a moment where it's like, oh man, DM's got some good shit up his sleeve. That's where, if it happened to my character, be like, yo, this is gonna be a fucking story.
I still feel like it might be a good idea for it to be discussed a little bit at least.
Yeah.
See, not me. If I discussed it with my DM, I'd be like, dude, you just took all the surprise out of it.
I mean, there is that, but for something that changes what your character truly is, like if I don't know. I feel like if I gave you something for King that made him lose the ability, like if I forced you to become a mime as a curse.
Thank fuck, yo, King needs help.
If I made any of you players become a mime to like just prove a point and not really give any point of return,
I would 100% commit, but I 100% believe Verde would shoot me in the face.
And also, I don't think that'd be fun long term. Like not being able to talk.
No, I mean, you try and fix it. Okay, let's be like, Help.
I guess. Well, remember when they write, it just changes to gibberish. Wingdings, I think.
Oh, god damn it. Well, I'm new. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's not what I wrote.
You saw them do it.
Auto translate. No.
But yeah, I guess so. I'll be the party pooper, as is my role in this group. I'd say generally I would be displeased at that for most characters. I think there are certain characters where that could work, but like generally I put a lot of love into my character that I build, and so um it's like I want Grunkle to eat things and be jovial. I don't want him to be like, well, I've got bone cancer.
Got brittle bone
Like,
syndrome
Grunkle
now.
has bone cancer.
because like I mean
Grunkle
I love
is
playing these games.
depressed.
I don't want to be like spending my whole week doing work and then coming to a game and being like, I just don't know what I'm gonna do for my family. Jeez, no, like don't. Yeah, so I err on the more lighthearted as a player, but if I really trusted the storyteller, I think that I would sign on. But I'll be the general dissenter.
Grunkle's curse is the people he brings in closest to him end up getting hurt.
Grunkle not why.
Torvekik almost died. Mateo's gone. Dibs is gone.
Grunkle not know why. Everybody who smells tasty disappears around him.
Why do the tasty people always
Grunkle
go?
cursed.
Grunkle lied to Dibs. Want to eat?
So, from what it sounds like, Pickles, you'd be a no, thank you.
Generally, I'd probably be resistant.
Fred, you'd be a yes, but only if it's agreed upon between player and DM.
Yep.
I'm a yeah, fucking hit me with it. Like, let's have some fun.
A caveat is that if it's something like lycanthropy or something, but if it's like you have bad luck for reasons you pissed off a god or something, then that's fine. That's whatever. You can stuff you can work around perfectly fine. But it's, oh, you're a vampire now, and the only way to cure it is this really obscure thing that will take you the next 90 years to do. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, no, I
something
get you.
I think should be
Yeah.
discussed.
I disagree, but that's perfectly fine. I mean, I see your point 100%. Like, if I got bit by a vampire, I'd be looking at the DM going, oh. And if he was like, no, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm like, but I got bit.
I has?
Yeah. But you said I got bit. And he's like, no, I wouldn't do that to you. I'm like, you're a bad storyteller.
And you just start
Adis.
playing your character as it.
Yeah, I just start leaning into it, even though I'm not a vampire. I just start walking around.
I think that would be a great one. And I think I like that aspect of it. So I think I would like the little curveball in there of like, because I'll be honest, like I spend a lot of time in the initial like setup of my character, and then but I'm okay if especially if I trust the DM, to kind of have a little bit of play with that. Like, yeah, okay, this is the foundation of my character, and throughout the story we're going to develop what that character is actually doing. Because I mean, we started out and Adarag was supposed to be this like rags to riches kind of smuggler sort of guy, and he just turned out to be like he might have been blowing smoke out of his ass.
That's right, yeah. Turns out he was never actually. That's funny.
So I like it because we've been able to play into that and kind of been able to develop Adarag as a character throughout the campaign, and so I'm okay with a little bit of those curveballs getting thrown in there. But I do see the flip side of that coin that you guys have now brought up with, like, if you don't have a good DM that you can trust to do that, it can easily go bad. But I would say as a player, I like it.
I agree with your point you made about the DM knowing your character idea, because I agree with Pickles for Grunkle. So I'm trying to think of, as a DM for Grunkle. If I was to curse him with something, I'm like, Grunkle's entire character personality is being the jovial guy. So the only way I would curse him is having things go bad around him, having bad things happen to those around him, having like defeats and stuff where he's like trying to keep the mood up, but he's like, oh dude, we just got fucked. Like this is hard to like try. But I don't see myself like, Grunker, you're a vampire and you have to like overcome that, and now you're not a vampire anymore. Good job, you overcame it. But how did that really help his character build towards that jovial? I don't think it would. So I don't think that's something I would do for Grunkle.
Well, hold up. You actually do have something very obvious that's available for you here.
Grunkle's like, no, curse me.
No, Grunkle's an ogre. He's just straight up a monster already. So cursing him doesn't make sense because all you would have to do is say,
make Grunkle human.
He becomes handsome Grunkle.
No.
He becomes a dwarf.
Grunkle's like, oh no, don't curse me, don't curse me. Now I'm just a normal boy. Uh-oh. And now I have a donkey? I don't like this donkey. I gotta go talk to the mayor about this. Or however
like a
Shrek
movie.
goes.
Yeah, I was like, wait a second, this sounds like a movie.
But I mean, like, yeah, you could certainly play into it. If you wanted the true primal nature of playing an ogre character who wants to be a hero, it's the same as the Wolfman. Just you make it so Grunkle has to resist.
Over.
Yeah, he has to resist that, and maybe suppressing it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, leads to more dangerous outcomes. The more he tries to be civilized, the more there's situations where who the fuck ripped a like group of travelers apart and then ate their wheels off their wagon? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. That's the part where it could be like, oh no, I'd be the one to eat wagon wheels, so that's actually very concerning.
Just gave me
Not sure I'd enjoy it, but that would be the way you could inflict the curse on me, is just playing into the curse I already have that you haven't forced. I mean, I kind of play into it like to just be like, oh, Grunkle want to eat, but Grunkle not.
Just gave me a really good idea, so I'm writing something down before I forget.
Okay, I thought you were
not ignoring you. I'm not being rude.
Oh, you're like,
suddenly has like the Midas touch where he all the alcohol that he touches turns into water.
No, that's the worst.
That would ruin
it's
him.
not a death curse, but that's so fucked up.
Like just the nicest, purest, cleanest drinking water that you've ever had. But but the barrel on his back is all just full of water now.
Or like everything he touches becomes like, I think he can eat anything, but you know, if everything he touched just became bland with no flavor ever. Like, no, even he even ate rocks because they had salt and shit in them. Now everything's just bland.
Everything tastes like dirt, and Grunkle not even like eating dirt. Yeah, Grunkle eat dirt as joke.
You can eat anything, but nothing tastes good. It doesn't change it. Like, you can still eat anything. It just tastes terrible. That would suck.
Yeah, that's kind of a nightmare that I don't think I'd want to roleplay.
You can no longer taste ale.
Like, because as a person, like, I love food, and so that actually is a little bit of a scary idea, not being able to taste.
Hang on. Gorvekik, you've gone paralyzed from the waist down. You can only ever ride Grunkle from now on. He'd be like, okay. I do that anyway.
Grunkle very helpful. No, that's Grunkle talking. Shut the fuck up, Grunkle.
Riding your war Grunkle into battle.
Huh. Let's see if chat has anything here. They say you can just get a detachable penis. It's fine.
That is a bizarre song.
What?
Okay, so I found out about this song. It's like a alternative rock, maybe not alternative rock. It's alternative, certainly though. It's a song that sounds normal at first, but as you like listen to it more, you realize the guy has a detachable penis that he took off and lent to somebody at a party. Now he can't find his detachable penis, which is part of the chorus. And so he's searching for it, and he finds it at a yard sale, I think. And why I love this song is at my last job, I just put my iTunes on like just random, like, and also find other things that are hip hop adjacent or alternative adjacent. Yeah, I'm a weirdo. And that song came on, and everybody's kind of enjoying it, not really listening. There's power tools and everything. And then one person's power tools stop, and we hear like the chorus, and everybody just starts breaking down laughing at how absurd and insane and unhinged this song is while sounding completely normal. And so I have fond memories of it, even though good song.
Hmm.
This has been Drinks and Discussions.
This is Drinks and
That's all I
Discussions.
have to say about that.
Thanks so much for watching Drinks and Discussions, guys, the
And
RPG
that's
podcast.
all I had to say about that.
You can catch us every Monday live on twitch.tv/daddywrath_. They made me put an underscore, I'm sorry. I think...
Was that not to have it be like Daddy Wrath _videos?
No, just Daddy Wrath
Because
underscore.
that's how a lot of your things pop up now, is underscore videos.
Oh, no.
About.
No.
At least on my screen.
No. I'm not that creative.
Okay.
Anyways, that's it from us. We're going to be moving into another segment called Under the Table, where we discuss behind-the-scenes RPG stuff, this time featuring Strange Giant Golden Ridge Episode 10. So we're going to have the cast and crew of that in here, discussing all things Strange Giant Golden Ridge. So if you want to see that, stick around for the stream. If you're watching this on YouTube, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Comment your thoughts on it. Would you allow a curse on your character in a TTRPG and or video game? And subscribe to see more. We'd love to have you around. You can always join us in the Discord if you want to join that little community. Pretty awesome. We just went through a renovation. The Discord looks great. But that's all I got for you. Thanks so much for joining. We will see you in the next one. Later.
Adios.
Cheers.
I love you.